Coffee, a blend personally crafted by Mike Church, made from South American and Africa's finest gourmet coffee beans and roasted to perfection. Available in whole bean or ground, pick up a bag or 6 today at shop.mikechurch.com. Here's what to listen for this hour. Secretary of State Marco Rubio reveals the Biden administration's State Department kept dossiers on Americans accused of serving as vectors of disinformation. Elon Musk receives applause from cabinet as he begins planned departure from Doge. Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre's journal entry, and a toast to the health benefits of champagne. Secretary of State Marco Rubio revealed during a cabinet meeting that the Biden administration State Department kept dossiers on Americans accused of serving as vectors of disinformation, including a file on an unidentified Trump administration official. We had an office in the Department of State whose job it was to censor Americans, Rubio said during yesterday's cabinet meeting with our president. And by the way, I'm not going to say who it is. I'll leave it up to them. There's at least one person at this table today who had a dossier in that building of social media posts to identify them as purveyors of disinformation. J.D. Vance interjected, asking, was it me or Elon Musk? We can follow up when the media is gone. Drawing laughter from the cabinet, Rubio continued, we know that the best way to combat disinformation is freedom of speech and transparency. Elon received a round of applause from President Donald Trump's cabinet as he prepares for a planned exit from his role in Doge. You have been treated unfairly, Trump said to Musk yesterday, but the vast majority of people in this country really respect and appreciate you. And this whole room can say that very strongly. You opened up a lot of eyes as to what could be done, and we want to thank you very much. You're invited to stay as long as you want, Trump said, as applause broke out in the room for Musk. At some point, I guess he wants to get back home to his cars and his family, he said. Days after the third Jeffrey Epstein abuse accuser to die in recent years took her own life, her family shared an excerpt from a heartbreaking journal entry Virginia Giuffre left behind. In the portion of the note shared by Giuffre's family, she encouraged other abuse victims to stand together and continue to fight. Our quote of the day, nothing great is ever achieved without enduring much. St. Catherine of Siena. And coming up, our saint of the day. You're listening to Crusade Radio Network News.
Everybody loves a good trilogy. The Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and now the King Dude Seasoning Trilogy. There's Beast and Butt Rub, Acadiana Steak, and the brand new Chicken Mamu Seasoning, a lemon herb-based rub that's won trophies in barbecue chicken cook-offs. Now, we've bundled all 3 spices together, and you can get them for one low price for less than it costs to rent a movie trilogy. And the King Dude offers you his personal money-back guaranteed of your taste buds' complete satisfaction. Order a King Dude Seasoning Trilogy today at shop.mikechurch.com. Oh man, May is so boring. I wonder if there's anything on the radio here. On May 2nd, the Mike Church Show will launch a broadcast contest unlike any other in history, and you'll see why May 2025 won't be just another May.
Our saints of the day are Saints Philip and James. Philip came from the same town as Peter and Andrew, Bethsaida in Galilee. Jesus called him directly. He sought out Nathanael and told him of the one whom Moses wrote. Like the other apostles, Philip took a long time coming to realize who Jesus was. On one occasion, when Jesus saw the great multitude following him and wanted to give them food, he asked Philip where they should buy bread for the people. And St. John says Jesus said this to test him because he himself knew what he was going to do. Meanwhile, James was the son of Alphaeus, and we really know nothing of this man except his name, and of course the fact that Jesus chose him to be one of the 12 pillars of the new Israel, his church. He is not to be confused with the James of Acts, son of Clopas, brother of Jesus, and later bishop of Jerusalem, and the traditional author of the letter of James. James, the son of Alphaeus, is also known as James the Lesser, to avoid confusing him with James the son of Zebedee, also an apostle, and known as James the Greater. A new study suggests that regular drinking of champagne and or white wine could lower your risk of sudden cardiac arrest, which is SCA, a serious condition that claims the lives of over 436,000 Americans every year. The study, which was published in the Canadian Journal of Cardiology, identified 56 modifiable risk factors for SCA. Researchers suggest that 40 to 63% of cases of sudden cardiac arrest could be preventing by changing a few factors. And apart from drinking champagne and white wine, some other factors that have protective benefits are eating more fruit, maintaining a healthy BMI, staying upbeat, and being well educated. But what really does you in is high blood pressure, poor sleep, sedentary behavior, smoking, and excess fat. I'm Janet Huxley for the Crusade Radio Network, seeking news and finding truth.
Attention coffee lovers, the Founders Trading Post has done it again. We have actually increased our selection of America's best gourmet coffee. Try the new Borromeo roast from Twin Pikes Roastery. Order today and take advantage of flat rate shipping at shop.mikechurch.com. Well, there's trouble in MAGALAnd. How do you spell power hour? I like P-O-W-U-H. O-W-U-H. Power hour. You don't like that? Greatest producer, radio producer in the history of radio producers is frowning at me on the other side of the room there going, really, dude? Might put people in the frame of mind of the Power Rangers. Power Hour, Power Rangers. We'll talk about it. It's a big day here in Louisiana, folks. I welcome all of you listening on 990 AM WGSO. Mike Church here with you. Asking the question of the day.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
Well, I'll tell you. Waxy, he'll tell you.
In order to ensure the security and continuing stability, the Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire.
That guy sounds angry. Call in line telephone number if you'd like to be on the program. This works anywhere in America. That would include in the tiny hamlet that is New Orleans, Louisiana. 844-527-8723. 844-5-CRUSADE. Our Crusader Stadium chat room, our private troll-free zone chat room, online at crusadechannel.com/chat. That's crusadechannel.com/chat. Moments ago, before we came on air, Michael Waltz, hey gang, given walking papers, and also his deputy, right? His deputy was also sent packing. I don't know, because I can't say whether or not this had anything to do with Signalgate. You know, as is our want, as G. Gordon Liddy used to say here on the program, President Trump speaking live right now, National Day of Prayer. We chose this time because we had the world's #1 television star, Trump, and the world's #1 radio star, me, all on at the same time. So let's eavesdrop on President Trump announcing something.
To say the final details are coming together, and they're coming together rapidly, and I think we're right on schedule, Mike and everyone. And I want to thank you and this group and all of the people.
You're supposed to be speaking because today is the National Day of Prayer. It's also St. Joseph the Worker Day. I'll tell you all about that in just a minute.
In the history of our Congress, our Senate, and Congress. That's a big achievement. One of the things that's very important will be saving Medicaid for Americans in need. We will not let the Democrats destroy it and all the waste, fraud, and abuse that they seem to love. And they will decimate Medicaid if they get the chance. We're not going to give them that chance. So just remember, we will be saving Medicaid and strengthening it. It'll be actually very strengthened. And they are going to decimate it. We can't let it happen. And very simply, to finish that, we will make America rich and healthy again. And why don't we say rich, healthy, and religious again, okay? Shall I add that for this group? Right, Dan Patrick? Thanks as well to the great people that are here. Pete Hegseth, who's doing a fantastic job. Pete, thank you. Marco Rubio, unbelievable. Unbelievable, Marco. When I have a problem, I call up Marco. He gets it solved. He gets it solved.
It's so funny that he used to mock him and call him
Besson.
little Marco. You don't know little
countries.
Marco. You're little, okay? You're little.
Do you get to sleep at all? He's got phone calls coming in. I was with him before. I had like 30 phone calls. I said, just see me later. They're all calling. Scott Turner, who's doing wonderful work. Recommendation of...
Okay, we'll pick up on this in a little while. I just wanted to see what he was talking about. It is the National Day of Prayer. Interesting that that day was actually declared by the Second Continental Congress in 1774. And it was the recommendation of George Washington, 1776, that a National Day of Prayer, almsgiving, and fasting is what they called it, was to be on May the 1st, 1776, I want to say. Also interesting that George Washington would carry on that tradition when he became president. I don't think he did it on May the 1st. Interesting little tidbit here, though, if you're listening to me on 990 AM, WGSO. 3 years ago, on this day in 2022, in the year of our Lord and Savior, Anno Domini 2022, the man that I call Emperor Napoleon Bell Bonaparte IV, because he was a little tin-horn dictator, John Bell Edwards got one thing correct in his miserable West Point embarrassing life. He got St. Joseph the Worker Day correct. I think it's the only thing that he ever got right. He asked the legislature for a resolution of sort to declare May the 1st St. Joseph the Worker Day, and they complied. Either that or he issued it and asked them to pass the concurrent. I'm really not sure the legislative end of it. But I do know this because I know Father Donald Calloway. Father Calloway and I go back about 6 years or so. And, 7 years when his book, 33-Day Devotion to St. Joseph, came out. And I interviewed Father a couple of times for the book and interviewed him at another event, and he and I met. But it was interesting that because he had written the book about devotion to St. Joseph, so Emperor Bell Bonaparte IV invited Father Donald Calloway to come to Louisiana, to come to Rouge Beton on 1 May 2022 to witness the signing of the proclamation on St. Joseph the Worker Day in Louisiana. I believe, and some of you might get a kick out of this, I believe that if you read the resolution, I believe that it says that if you wish to take the day off as a holiday, you can. You just tell, just pretend like you work for the city of New Orleans. You tell LaToya the Destroyer, I'm not coming in tomorrow. You tell her on April the 30th. What do you think you got going over there, baby? And you tell LaToya the Destroyer, religious event. I don't have to tell you anything. And you could invoke the resolution for St. Joseph the Worker Day. In any event, Father Calloway came and he blessed the actual document. There are pictures out there. I'm sure you can find it because people like them pictures. There are pictures out there that you can find of Father Calloway and Edwards, and I forget who else was there. And he had his asparagus wand, and he blessed it. So anyway, I just thought I'd pass it on. I talked a lot about it on the radio show today, which you can catch all of you from 6 to 9 a.m. on the crusadechannel.com or on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@RealKingDude. Breaking news. Wait a minute, I got to do this correct. Breaking! Trump National Security advisor Mike Waltz and his deputy to leave posts in White House. This is the first shakeup with the Trump administration since it began in earnest on 20 January of this year. This is according to CBS News. I don't trust anything that they report, but I think that it'd be really difficult for them to screw this up. National Security Advisor and his deputy, Alex Wong, will be leaving their post at the Trump White House, according to multiple sources familiar with their departure. They're expected to leave today. Sources, I believe they already has left because there is a picture, and people like them pictures, out there on the internet of Waltz walking across the White House lawn, checking his phone messages. The president's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, is having conversations with some of the National Security Council staff today, sources said. In March, now you might remember this. I still think that this is just so stupid and ridiculous. In March, Waltz came under scrutiny after he put together a signal chat and mistakenly included the Atlantic's Jeffrey Goldberg. Does anyone out there still believe this canard? The guy that gave up a congressional seat, the guy that campaigned through all the thick and the thin with then candidate Trump from 2023 on, Michael Waltz, who was basically Trump's shadow. He was at almost every event that he could get to. The president didn't hesitate to make him an NSA, National Security Advisor. He was at the inauguration. He's at all the major events, the big rallies and everything. He's in some of the meetings, early meetings in the White House, in the Oval Office, I mean. He's at the cabinet meetings, the ones that they broadcast. Yesterday was the mother of all cabinet meeting broadcasts. We have some clips for you, as a matter of fact, from it. Does anyone believe that guy is possible of pulling an Alexander Vindman and being a saboteur in the Trump White House? If you don't know, so for the uninitiated, Alexander Vindman, the Ukrainian, probably a spy, Alexander Vindman was in a similar position. He wasn't the NSA, but he was one of those guys. I think he was under John Baum and Bolton. In 2019, Vindman, I believe, and I think this has been revealed in Molly Hemingway's book, among others, Vindman was the source for Pumpkinhead, Melonhead, Adam Schiff's now infamous "I have the phone call." He committed high crimes and misdemeanors when he tried to blackmail Volodymyr Zelensky in the now infamous phone call that led to Shampeachment 1.0. Well, we now know, and I always told you, I always told my audience, going all the way back to September of 2019, that they said, we're not going to disclose who the whistleblower was. And I was saying, I tell you who it is. It's Vindman. I know exactly who it is. It's Vindman. Does anyone believe that Michael Waltz is capable of being an Alexander Vindman? I don't. So there's something else going on here. Now, I don't know this Alex Wong guy. So maybe it was, we got to get rid of Wong, and maybe it was like Waltz may have said it's not correct or proper for Wong to take all the blame, so you should probably just let me go too, and I'll go to come as a pair. That makes more sense to me, since we don't know the Wong guy, that it was the Wong, it was Michael Wong, or I'm sorry, not Michael, Alex Wong, that set up the Signal group, the Signal chat up, and then invited people to it, and then supposedly invited Jeffrey Goldberg. No one believes that Goldberg got invited to this event. Okay, there was a CVF or a VF card that was dropped into Waltz's or Wong's signal contacts, and the initial was correct. He thought he was inviting someone else, and that's how Goldberg got in. By the way, Jeffrey Goldberg's reporting has now been completely and totally discredited. He's a liar. His whole there, and they outed a secret agent on this call. No, they didn't. They actually said who the person was, and it wasn't a he, it was a she, dummy. So in any event, just a little bit of stuff happening there today. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, CIA Director John Ratcliffe denied any classified information had been shared on the chat. You know, I don't know when the Democrats got so up in arms about leaking classified information. They do it with regularity. The entirety of the Obama presidency was one giant leak of classified intel. This is policy by leak. So I don't know what the big deal is. To me, the tragedy of this is that Michael Waltz is no longer in the House of Representatives, where Trump culled him from. That seat was won. I forget who won the seat, but they had to have a special election to fill it. And Waltz was a very accomplished member of Congress. He was pretty high up on the pecking order too, you know, with Speaker Zion King, the Zion King, Mike Johnson of Louisiana, and of course Steve Scalise is directly underneath. I want to say Waltz was number 4, number 5, somewhere up there. So the real tragedy of this is now he restored Elise Stefanik before it was too late. That's a good move. They lost Matt Gaetz. By the way, here, search warrant. Hey, Lama! Anybody seen Matt Gaetz? You would literally need a search warrant to find him, even though he's hiding in plain sight on One America News. And I see him and I go like, dude, it's funny. I told, of course, Matt Waltz doesn't, Gaetz doesn't talk to me, but on my Twitter account, you can follow me at the King Dude. I told him when the whole Attorney General thing blew up, and then he decided that he could have gone to Governor DeSantis and said, look, I made a mistake. Can I undo my resignation? There really is. I mean, the House is the judge of its own rules. It could have made a rule. I think DeSantis could have accepted and said, well, we're just going to reverse the decision here. And instead of doing that, he decided to get into broadcasting. And I told him, I was like, this is the age-old curse, Matt. It's so easy sitting on the other side of that table, being a guest, cracking jokes, breaking news, basically being an informant of sorts and giving commentary while someone else is sitting on this side, namely yours truly or someone like me, who's driving the ship and who's running the show. Man, if you have a good host like yours truly, then even bad guests are made to look good. I can make someone that's not a very good guest seem like they should have their own show, and that's how this happens. And it's not in the calculus, and I don't know why, when just because someone is a good guest, well, let's give them a show. And I used to get this all the time from people that listen to me here on the Mike Church Show. Someone would be a guest on, and then the chat rooms and the message boxes were flying, you need to give him a show. We need more shows on your stupid network. And then I go like, dude, you know what? I'd offer that guy a show. You know what's going to happen? Do you know how many shows we have offered people and have spent tens upon tens of thousands of dollars to make preparations for them, to get them on air, and some of them never show up for day one? Yeah. Well, they realize how much work it is. In any event, I wish I knew Matt Gaetz better, because I had told him, dude, when you get on the other side of that desk, you're going to find out now you're competition for Steve Bannon. You're not his boy anymore. Now you're competition for One America's Voice. Now you're competition for Charlie Kirk. Now you're competition. Now you're Will Kane's competition. Okay? Now you're Jesse Waters' competition. The whole ball game is now going to change. And guess what? Because I know how this game is played, because I've been in it 34 years. They're going to start telling people, Go on with Matt Gaetz, and I'm not going to have you on anymore. Now, a lot of people are going, come on, TKD, you don't really believe that. Oh, no, that's how the game is played. Trust me when I tell you. In any event, Mike Waltz gone, Matt Gaetz gone. Who was the other member of Congress that they pulled out? Stefanik was put back in. The other guy, I forget the other dude's name. I don't know if they're going to replace Mike Waltz. We'll find out as time goes on. This morning, Stephen Miller, where did this guy come from? I know, where's this guy been? Stephen Miller, who does not apologize for it, he takes no prisoner, he offers no quarter to the enemy either, and that's what I really love about him. Caroline Leavitt opens up the press briefings, which are now being done early in the morning, which is a nice change of pace. They're being done at 9 a.m. Central or Eastern, so which is 8 here on the Central Time Zone. So we catch them in the third hour of the Mike Church Show, so I was able to broadcast part of it today. I have the Stephen Miller clips, or sorry, some of the Stephen Miller clips. This guy is literally the Tasmanian devil from the Bugs Bunny cartoons, and he's been unleashed on Trump's White House. And he's been unleashed on anyone that makes a mistake of showing up in that press pool when Stephen Miller is in there and has the audacity to ask a stupid question, is going to get the proverbial earful. And I'm going to give you one such instance of that. We'll talk about that as we continue on the bonus hour here if you're a morning show listener, and the only hour if you're a terrestrial radio listener. I talked about this earlier today, and I'm going to hit a little bit on it in the second hour about the conservatism of President Trump, and how many of you have been at this as long as I? I started in this business in 1992. I probably was listening to El Rushbo and whoever for 2 or 3 years before this. So let's just say I started in 1990. And so I've been full of this crap, literally, for 35 years. The question that I have jokingly asked on and off, you probably have asked it too, is when you hear someone that's supposedly one of our conservatives, and this is a conservative, you hear them speak and you go like, hey, I don't get it. Can you tell me what it is that you're actually trying to conserve? You know, to me, the job of the conservative is kind of like G.K. Chesterton said, was to defend the democracy of the dead. And the dead can't do it themselves, so it's up to us, the living, to defend the dead or the democracy of the dead. That seems to me to be a conservative job. But for the longest time, I asked the question, can you tell me exactly what it is you're trying to conserve? And there's never an answer. When the Republicans had the House after Newt Gingrich left, with this revolving door of jackals and jokes, including one infamous pederast, Denny Hastert. Well, what were you trying to conserve? In 2010, when John Boehner got the gavel, same exercise. And I actually thought that Speaker Boehner was, intellectually speaking anyways, I actually thought that Boehner could have been one of those conservatives, but he just never was. We had the joke that was Paul Ryan. I mean, what? Trump has a Congress in 2017 that is led by a guy named Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan would probably have to have a cheat sheet to give you the preamble to the Constitution. He probably doesn't know it. He's as dumb on those matters as Mitt for Brains Romney was. The point being, there hasn't been a conservative in Congress other than Ron Paul and Thomas Massie and Walter Jones and a few others since Speaker Gingrich. And there isn't one in there now other than Massie and what's the woman's name from Florida, the former Ukraine? Sparks, right? Her name is Sparks. What are they trying to conserve? And we're going to talk about this. Why isn't Congress acting like the Trump administration? They had the initiative. We'll be back. Attention coffee lovers, the Founders Trading Post has done it again. We have actually increased our selection of America's best gourmet coffee. Try the new Borromeo roast from Twin Pikes Roastery. Order today and take advantage of flat rate shipping at shop.mikechurch.com.
Hey folks, did you know that the word watch, as in wristwatch, originates from the Old English word watcha, meaning watchfulness, and was initially used to describe keeping a lookout or being alert? Well, I know two guys who keep a lookout for the highest quality watch movements, bands, and then apply their own love for liberty and the Second Amendment to the design of the faces, and bammo, you have the 2A Liberty Watch Company. My friends George and Josh design watches that are sharp, functional, and inspire. I wear my 2A 4547 POTUS watch every day, and you'll love yours too. Shop their entire line today at 2awatchcompany.com. Use the code CHURCH for 10% off at 2awatchcompany.com.
Hello, Crusaders. I'm Janet Huxley at the Crusade Radio Network News Desk with your Crusade Crucials for Thursday, May the 1st, 2025. This report is brought to you by Capuchin Holy Roast Coffee, a blend personally crafted by Mike Church, made from South American and Africa's finest gourmet coffee beans and roasted to perfection. Available in whole bean or ground. Pick up a bag or 6 today at shop.mikechurch.com. In the market report, the Dow was up at close 0.35%, the S&P 0.15%, NASDAQ had dropped slightly 0.09%. Today is National Day of Prayer, always held the first Thursday in May. Designated by the United States Congress, it asks people to turn to God in prayer and meditation. It's also National Silver Star Service Banner Day. We celebrate Silver Star Service Banner Day on May the 1st in recognition for the sacrifices of American service members, those that have been made for our country. It's to remember service members who have been wounded in combat, are sick, and those who are dying. It's National Law Day and School Principals Day, and it's May Day. Our quote of the day: "Nothing great is ever achieved without enduring much." St. Catherine of Siena. Our saints of the day are Saints Philip and James. You're listening to Crusade Radio Network News. Listen up, Red, White, and Dude Nation fans. Now, if you wear one new t-shirt this spring, then make sure you pour yourself into a new Mike Church Show neon microphone t-shirt. Printed on beautiful 100% soft cotton tees, the logo's so cool. It's even more cool than burning Unburdened by What Has Been stickers. Available in sizes medium through Alvin Bragg sized 3X. Be the best dressed dude at your cigar shop or the coolest dressed gal at Junior's soccer match. Order today at shop.mikechurch.com.
The Mike Church Show, serving the hard liquor of truth to men who want to get drunk fast, since 1992.
A radio juggernaut the left and Baphomet's useful idiots have no answer for. The Mike Church Show is on the Crusade Radio Network on a Thursday, 1 May 2025. Welcoming all of you listening on 990 AM WGSO, our flagship terrestrial radio station. So great to be on in the Crescent City. I want to thank Jeff Crouere again for humoring me. What a great lineup it is, though, here on GSO with Jeff doing his. And Jeff and I have been at this almost the same amount of time. I think he's been at this for like 25 years, anchoring down to 7 to 9 a.m. And then Moon Griffon has been at this maybe even longer than I have, from 9 to 11. And then you have El Jefe Dude. And then you have, that's yours truly for the uninitiated. And then you have Mrs. Fitzmaurice. And the Fitzmaurices have been ruling the radio airwaves with the stories of the great restaurants and great restaurateurs of the Crescent City since what, the 1980s. So an honor and a privilege to be here, Jeff, and all of you at GSO. Thank you so much. And for all of you listening, you're always free to call 844-527-8723, 844-5-CRUSADE. Let's do some Stephen Miller. By the way, Dr. Phil McGuire just took to the National Day of Prayer stage with President Trump. I wasn't listening. I don't know what he said, But because I looked up and I asked the greatest radio producer in the history of radio producers, and I said, Maggie, is that Dr. Phil? She looked up and she goes, it absolutely is Dr. Phil. All right, let's do some of Stephen Miller. This is from earlier today. Terrorists and here. Those of you that are new listeners, you got to catch up on Mike Church Show lingo. It's going to take you got to give me 8 weeks of daily doses of the Founding Fathers Red Pill, sprinkled with a few drops of holy water, so you can. There it is. Unplug the matrix cable from the back of your head, claim your philosophia parentis thinking skills, and become members of the self-governing people of these United States. Not a job; it's a way of life. Stephen Miller and the MSM doesn't stand for mainstream media. There's nothing mainstream about these clowns. Most of them shouldn't be in what used to be an honorable field of broadcasting. They're unethical, immoral jackals, and you should treat them as such. Don't believe what they say. Don't buy their books. Don't read their articles. And for heaven's sake, whatever you do, don't feed them after midnight. Sorry, wrong movie. Stephen Miller talking about, I call the MSM the Malachian satanic media because that's what it is. Stephen Miller has no time for any of these jackals. And I just love the fact that he just does. Yeah, okay. Speaking to my beloved New Orleanians, you all remember Tyrann Mathieu. Maggie's nodding her head and laughing. Honey Badger don't care. Oh, look, Honey Badger walks right up on a cobra, and oh, the cobra bites Honey Badger. Oh, Honey Badger's like he's out taking a nap. Oh, look, Honey Badger's up. Like, Honey Badger don't care. Stephen Miller is the new Honey Badger. He just doesn't care. he just looks at the White House press corps, just goes like, I don't care. I don't care about you. You're nothing to me. Watch this. Listen to this.
It is a sad reflection on the state of our media and many of the outlets represented in this room that you obsessively try to shill for this MS-13 terrorist. Well, no coverage occurred in your papers about any of the Americans that were raped and tortured and murdered by the illegals that Biden was importing into our country. You know, you talk about due process. The Biden administration made the decision to give extensive due process to 2 trained Nicaragua terrorists that were apprehended at the border just a couple years ago. They were 2 gentlemen. They were from Venezuela. They were members of trained Nicaragua. The Biden administration and Border Patrol apprehended them and made the decision to provide them with extensive due process, put them onto a program known as supervised release, and put them on ankle monitors so that they could go through a lengthy legal, judicial determination as to whether these legal aliens who had just set foot on U.S. soil might want to live in the United States for the rest of their lives. What was the result of that decision? What was the result of that choice?
What? Listen to this.
Those 2 men kidnapped a young girl named Jocelyn Ungary from her family. They beat her. They sexually assaulted her. They tortured her. They stripped her. They murdered her, and they dumped her body. That is what the Biden administration's policy was. Most of your papers never covered her story when it happened. To the extent that you covered it at all, it was because President Trump forced you to cover it by highlighting it repeatedly over and over again. He had to shame you into covering it.
Pause the tape. Stop the tape. For just quickly, for those of you listening on radio, you can't see this. Caroline Leavitt, White House spokesperson, spokeswoman, spokesbabe, is standing right next to him, looking at him like, dude, how do you do this? And she is no shrinking violet or wallflower either. So just for edification here, I also like the way, and I very much appreciate this, very well thought out. The White House briefing room now looks like they mean business. This is not the clown circus of KJP, Corinna Jean-Pierre, Blackety Ann, as I call her. These people are here to get a job done. They are willing to relay accurate, this is the key, accurate information to the world's press if you wish to report it. They're willing to answer questions if they're not stupid. And that's what you're hearing here. And I can tell you, because I covered the story, the tragic, horrible, horrible, horrible. It makes me want to just bawl all over this desk whenever I think about my beautiful, sweet little Jocelyn Nungree. That little girl was in junior high band. She had just gotten home from band practice. She told her mom she wanted to go to the store. She was going to buy herself a cold drink. This is the actual story. And Jocelyn Nungree's mom said, okay, the store's right down the street. And she went to the store and never came home. Back to Stephen Miller. Just wanted you to know a little bit more of the backstory there.
Every one of you that sides over and over again with these MS-13 terrorists, to the extent that you have the financial means to do so, you all choose to live in condos or homes or houses as far away from these kinds of gangbangers as you possibly can. If I offered any one of you a rent-free home with no taxes to pay in any of these gang neighborhoods, and I said your neighbors are MS-13 terrorists or Mexican mafia or Sinaloa cartel or Tren de Aragua, I couldn't pay you to live there. But yet you, with your coverage, are trying to force innocent Americans to have these people as their neighbors, and that one day their daughter may be abducted from their home and raped and murdered. So you're not going to get an ounce of sympathy from this administration or President Trump for the terrorists who've invaded our homes and our country.
Give me a solid knuck there, bro. Couldn't have said it better myself. You might have gathered that I don't care what people think either. The truth is the truth. It doesn't have an expiration date. And if you happen to stumble upon it and then you happen to utter it in public, you'll probably be made fun of. You're like, what do you mean? Well, that's pretty much the truth, and that's how it happened. I think we have one more from Stephen Miller. Okay, those were that was 1 and 2. Okay. He's just getting warmed up here. By the way, I have a couple of headlines here. Mass immigration is a recipe for national suicide by my buddy John Daniel Davidson, who writes at thefederalist.com, one of our favorite authors. And he's talking about this. And yeah, I talked about it on yesterday's show. So let me just, new listeners, or forgive me, I'll try to reset this as quickly as I can. Why has the Democrat Party become the party of un-America? They look at you, and they look at me, and they look at the rest of the United States, or the state of Louisiana, for example, and you're like, well, you know, like, yeah, you guys are like lacking and stuff, man, and, you know, we need to like bring immigrants and stuff in here because you're not like diversity, or you don't act diversity and stuff. Well, what would you like me to do? Do I need to kiss and hug a man? What do you mean I'm not diverse? You all speak the same language. We don't want to live in a country where people share the same language. This is what they're basically saying. We don't want to live in a country where people share the same values and culture and Christian traditions and what have you. Well, that's boring. Safe, too. How did one political party decide that it thinks that it can obtain power? You look at this punk that's trying to take over the Democrat Party, David Lil Boss Hogg. How is it that one political party seems to think that the road to recovery and to obtaining political power again is to oppose the actual people you claim to want to govern? I say that that's a recipe for some sort of awful, awful tyranny. And that heaven forfend, God forbid these lunatics should ever get in political power again. I think that they will have many of us on lists. And I'm not sure what they'll do with us. They talk as though the American people are just not up to their standards. But a Tren de Aragua, Ariana Grande gangbanger is. They choose to die on Gilmar Abrego Garcia Ridge? Are you insane? And you want the presidency? Stephen Miller, number 2, who's going to say this, basically.
This administration ended the Biden administration's policy and the Democrat Party's policy of allowing men into women's sports, men into women's spaces. We are using every single legal and financial tool we have at President Trump's direction to make it clear that schools and universities are and will lose federal funds, as you've seen in Maine, if you allow men to invade women's sports and women's spaces. And this applies to our whole K-12 system. The Department of Justice is also coordinating with state and local law enforcement to fight child abuse in our school systems. It is child abuse to change a child's gender, particularly if you do not inform the parents. In other words, if a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old goes to school, or a 7-year-old goes to school, and the teacher tries to turn the boy into a girl or the girl into a boy, that is child abuse. And this administration is treating that as child abuse. And it is a gross violation of parental rights. This also includes the administration's message to our hospital systems that they cannot and will not be allowed to use taxpayer dollars to perform chemical castrations and sexual mutilations of children. Castration surgeries, castration drugs, sterilization treatments of children are barbaric. They violate all sound medical ethics. They are completely unwarranted. They harm children for life, irreversibly. It is child torture. It is child abuse. It is medical malpractice. And so the Department of Health and Human Services, under the leadership of Bobby Kennedy, as well as the Department of Justice and other departments of this government, are making clear to our medical providers and our hospital systems that you cannot use taxpayer dollars to perform these barbaric procedures.
Okay, we're going to run out of time because this is the power hour here. I just want to say something here. Okay, it's great. You can't use taxpayer dollars. I'm fine with it. I can't stand the term taxpayer dollars, but that's what they are. You can't use any dollars. Castrating 12-year-old boys needs to be illegal. You do it, you get castrated. Somebody's going like, miniature please, you can't say anything like Hades, I can't. You do it, then we do it to you. Enough of this coddling and this acceptance of ladies and gentlemen, this is mental illness. These people are mentally ill. It used to actually be the clinical term is gender dysphoria. It was prior to like 8 years ago. It was extraordinarily rare. Less than 1%. It was in the dots of a percent. Now, supposedly, it's what? Now, 23% of young people say that they have transgender fantasies or that they are considered changing their sex. You know why? Because they have teachers and irresponsible Karen female divorced women who need attention on social media, Munchausen by proxy winches, telling them that this is the thing to do. Oh, my daughter knew she needed to transition when she was 2. She should have been taken away from you when she was 18 months then. The proper response is you should have lost that child when before you started telling it that it was a boy. You know, you hear the term castration. I challenge you people that think that this is all hunky-dory. It's just love. No, it's not. Go look up. Now, you're going to need a barf bag when you do this, so let me warn you. Go look up, and I want you to look at the photos. Go look at the photographs of what it takes to fashion a fake Johnson for a female pretending to be a dude. Just go look it up. You won't recover from it. These are photographs of human mutilation that look like they came out. You're going to think like, oh, what was this? The Nazis did this? No, the Nazis. I don't even think Mangala could do this. They take an arm. If you're watching this on television, this is what they do. Is look at my arm right here. They take this perfectly functioning arm, It's not a bionic arm. Wish it was a bionic arm. Just a regular old arm. And here, let me unbutton my sleeve so I can actually show you. They take from about right here to about right here. Because you see, you start getting fat here, okay? They take from about right here to about right here. And they cut right here all the way around. And they cut right here all the way around. And then they take this entire piece of skin and they take it off in a piece because it has fat in it. And then I forget what the other stuff that's in there. And then the woman is then left with this gape, this gouge here. The skin never grows back. You never get this fat back. There's always going to be a chunk that's taken out. And they take that and they use that to make the fake Johnson. That's what they do. That is being done to children. Children's Hospital in Massachusetts did it. Children's Hospital in Memphis. Children's Hospital in Minnesota still doing it. I think the Children's Hospital in New Orleans is maybe the only one that's not doing it. So that's a good thing. Okay, Mike Church here with you on the Mike Church Show, 844-527-8723. If you want to catch all 3 hours of the broadcast in the morning, join us at 6 a.m. Central at crusadechannel.com. That's crusadechannel.com. And, of course, we are live on YouTube every morning as well. And don't forget, tomorrow is a big day in our broadcast history. Tomorrow is the most stunning, innovative radio contest, giveaway contest ever done in the history of broadcasting. Tomorrow, I'm going to tell you how you, wherever you're listening, you don't have to be a member, you don't have to be a listener, I hope that you are, can win 1 troy pound of gold. My troy pound of gold. It's not a gimmick. It's not an act. I've given 5 cars away over the last 7 years. The annual promotion. We're not doing the car. We're doing a pound of gold this year. Don't you want a pound of shimmering gold? By the way, I did the numbers today. You remember D.B. Cooper, the dude that jumped out of the airplane, supposedly with the $200,000? I looked at today, what if he would have jumped out of the plane with $200,000 in gold bars? Okay, if he jumped out of the plane with $200,000 in gold bars, today he'd have $11.85 million in gold bars. If he jumped out of the plane with $200,000 in cash, let's say he played Rip Van Winkle and fell asleep for 40 years, or that would be actually 55 years and woke up yesterday, the $200,000 that he would, oh, look, I got my $200,000. I'm rich. No, you're not. The $200,000 now has a purchasing power of $71,000. What's the point? Gold is wealth. And I'm going to give you a chance to win a whole pound of it. You're not going to get a coupon. I'm going to send you a pound of 10-gram gold bars, or a troy pound. Details coming tomorrow, plus the site where we're going to give you a chance to win tickets every day on air. And, of course, you'll be able to purchase them because it's our annual fundraiser. All right, what else do we have here today? I talked about this earlier, that St. Joseph, today's St. Joseph the Worker Day. I would play you my sermon from Father Henderson, but I don't have time. So I just want to say that today, for 1 May 2025, today is actually kind of the anniversary. So it was on this day in 1955. So that's what, 45 and 25. That's 60 years ago today that His Holiness of Blessed Memory, Pope Pius XII, addressed the Catholic artisan and laborers, I believe it was, and St. Peter's Square, and told them why he was making today St. Joseph the Worker Day. So if you're a Catholic, it is a huge feast day, and you should treat it like one. And remember, St. Joseph, gentlemen, keep him close in all that you do. St. Joseph is the terror of demons, and he has remained as the terror of demons. There is this case. Now, who is this that's speaking? Oh, that's the White House faith director. No, we're not. No, but she told me. But no. There's this case in front of the Supreme Court. You see that, Amy, the notorious ACB from New Orleans. Amy Coney Barrett, supposedly the pride of Dominican High School, I think it's a Dominican she went to, recused herself in the, what's the name of the, it's the Attorney General of Oklahoma versus the school. In any event, it supposedly can there be church, can there be state funding, does the Constitution allow the establishment of a religion by funding a Catholic charter school? First of all, Catholicism was established at the Last Supper on the 25th of May, 33 A.D. You don't have to establish it. It's already established. You know, I get such a kick out of this. Well, this is an establishment of that's kind of hard to do since it was established by God. Perhaps you've heard of him, Jesus Christ himself. On Maundy, Thursday, basically, the institution of the priesthood, you get the first Mass. There is no establishment. Secondly, if you're going to tax people and then you're going to take the proceeds of the tax and you're going to say, well, I choose my government school because I think that I'm so, our government is so star-spangled, awesome, and amazing here. We run the best schools. No, you've actually, any government-run school is for the most part, an absolute and total disaster with rare exceptions. But wait a minute. So you can tax me and her and you and everyone else, and then you can take the proceeds of that and then you can funnel it into the state religion, which is that the state has certain things that it believes, and it's okay to teach the child the work ethic, the 8-hour workday and stuff like that. That sounds very religious to me. You know, in the era of faith and what we call Christendom, there was no 8-hour workday. These are all modern fabricated. There was no thing called a weekend. So you can teach that because you're a government school, you have the prerogative, but the Catholic school or the Catholic charter school, oh no, that's an establishment of, as I've already said, you can't establish a religion that was established 2,000 some odd years ago. So what's going on here? Well, I'll tell you what's going on here. The court doesn't have any business making this decision. That's what's going on here. So, wow, time has flown, folks, and we are out of it. Join us at crusadechannel.com tomorrow morning for Free Phone Friday. I'll see you then. God bless you and Merry keep you.